Hello everyone, and welcome to my thoughts and feelings about the recently updated Silent Hill 2 Remake trailer. Almost a month late because chronic anemia is a bit, but I still want to go ahead and share my general feelings about this trailer and what it has me thinking about the upcoming game's release. I am so excited about this game, because for one, it has everyone talking about Silent Hill again. I could always talk about Silent Hill, but it definitely feels like most of the internet and the YouTube algorithm get tired of me talking about it all the time. So it's nice to see the series trend and the topic become relevant with the majority of game players again. Now I have an excuse to talk about my favorite series, which is the best part of people making new Silent Hill games. There's renewed interest in all the games, and there's new fans coming to the older games too. As for the Silent Hill 2 remake, one of the major concerns I keep hearing about is the combat. I'm not entirely sure what the concern is, that it's too much action or that it's a Resident Evil clone. I hate to remind folks, but copying Resident Evil is a Silent Hill staple at this point. The truth is, personally, I think Silent Hill needs less combat or different combat, because the series has never figured itself out on that front. From the first game's release, the developers heard a lot of complaints about the combat, and each game from that point on attempted to address and improve upon it. A lot of the changes in Silent Hill 4 were specifically attempts to improve on combat, often in regards to Japanese complaints. And those fans were, of course, comparing the series to the juggernaut Resident Evil and wanting it to be more like that. Silent Hill has never figured out its combat. And if this game is gonna try and roll another new system out and see if this is the one that sticks, go for it. I don't honestly play Silent Hill for combat to begin with. I'm here to be spooked, to be moved emotionally, to explore a haunted nightmare. I want exploration, lore, riddles, monsters, and a good Silent Hill provides that. It has rarely provided good combat. Consider Fatal Frame, one of the best pure horror experiences with fantastic combat. The system feels completely immersive, part and parcel with the story and world building of the game. It forces you to face your fears, to look at the ghosts in a first-person perspective, and creates some of the most tense and frightening moments in that series. Clock Tower and Haunting Ground, they have no combat, but you have to run and hide, and being so vulnerable makes you feel the tension when monsters show up to chase you. It fits the world building. You're an innocent, weak person trapped in a bad situation. It makes you afraid, keeps your heart pumping. Silent Hill's combat has never made me feel fear. Not once. It has made me frustrated. It has made me bored. Sometimes it has made me laugh. Not once has it, for me, improved upon the experience Silent Hill builds. It often felt like a step away from it. People have been complaining about the camera on the new game, but to me it's an improvement. Fixed camera angles are great for artistry, for presentation of environments, and feelings of strange alienation. But for monsters? If the monster is far away or feels distant, why should I be afraid of it? I'm looking at it from on high. If my perception of a monster is a third-person POV of James kicking its junk, why should I feel fear? For years, I had no idea the nurses' heads were actually creepy little baby heads, because I literally couldn't see them on screen. When you're playing on a TV, sitting on your couch feet away, and the combat is distance-based, you don't see much of your monster. That's also why Pyramid Head works well. His giant, unique-looking head stands out on screen. The first boss fight with Pyramid Head is hilarious in Silent Hill 2. Unlike Harry, James can take hits like a champ, so you don't have to worry about dodging as much, especially because items are really plentiful on the lower difficulties. I always just dodge the guy the whole time, feeling like Yakety Sax is playing in the background, until eventually the siren plays, he dives into the water, and you can see him moving like a weird metal shark. It's funny, it's campy, I love it, but it's not fun combat. Looking over the series, I honestly think the first game does combat best. It feels like you are a weak person. You do have tools to defend yourself, but they're not overly plentiful and you must be careful with them. Monsters are constant with many unique ways of attacking you. The bosses are well designed and frightening with sound effects and visual effects that build the tension well. The camera on the monsters is also well done. It often comes much closer to the enemies than later games, especially on bosses. However, little of that feels like it traveled over to 2 and 3, where monsters feel important and symbolic, but not as fun to fight. The nurses of 2 never troubled me as much as the gray children of the school. The camera angle always felt like it was too far away. Artistic camera angles should exist for presentation, environments, and storytelling, but not combat. I also think the added abilities of James in 2 and Heather in 3, including a wider variety of stronger weapons and the ability to take more damage, takes away from the experience. 4 is at least balanced with the fact Walter and the ghosts are nearly immortal, meaning even if you can take a lot of damage, so can they. The game just needed more balance in terms of when and where monsters appeared. It felt like I had to escape too often, weakening the exploration factor. I couldn't poke around as much because Cynthia was about to eat my ass. So if Silent Hill 2 Remake wants to copy Resident Evil's homework, go for it, because Resident Evil is fun to play, but I've never felt like I needed to dig into the lore. It never interested me as much. If the fun gameplay of Resident Evil was blended with the incredible lore, exploration, and world building of Silent Hill, their powers combined could create the perfect experience, at least for me. Then there's the weird camera angles. Oh, gang. We're all so obsessed with them and I don't know why. Silent Hill 1 was ingenious in its use of camera angles to make up for the console's weaknesses, its inability to show certain things. Now we can show all the things and do incredible work with modern graphics to show horrors beyond imagination, and people are mad when the game shows you them. 2 things to consider. I do not think that many of the scenes in the trailer are, quote, scenes in the game. Consider the lack of flashlight or monsters, the apparent lack of lighting and shadows. These sections are so bright so you can see the town on purpose. They're unfinished, with the game devs just walking their protagonists through to show you a work-in-progress town. This is what the main layout looks like, but it's far from finished. And there's nothing to say actual exploration won't include weird angles. And there are weird angles in the trailer. There are scenes where the camera limits sight dramatically, and there are cinematic angles. The only difference is it's not present in combat, and to me that is a huge plus. Again, combat from a distance isn't scary. Make me look at my nightmares. There's a reason Fatal Frame's the only horror game series that frightens me, and it ain't because the camera acts like the game is a movie. Another complaint is, of course, Blubber Team. Well, we really haven't seen enough of anything to really say anything about that. Everything has been visual and gameplay based, and all of that so far looks beautiful. We know Blubber can do a visually stunning horror game with interesting visual effects. As for the writing, well, hopefully, if they're just adapting a pre-written game, there's no problem. As I've said before, this is hopefully a non-issue, but we just won't know until we get more actual dialogue and story revealed. Let's talk about some of the stuff we've seen in the trailer. It looks like they might have played more with James's look. I'm not the only one who said it looks like James looks more like James, which is a nice sign the devs are looking at fan reactions and taking our feedback into account. People definitely complained he looked off in the last trailer, possibly because the original James was based on his original voice actor, who's no longer involved in the project. Here, it looks like a far more Silent Hill 2 looking James. He's also not wearing his original outfit, which is fine. It's the same colors and basic design. He's just got 2 layers instead of 3. I like the button-up tucked in with the belt dad look, to be honest. Let's look at the trailer in more detail. The first scene is definitely James with his body double in the apartments. Looks like they've given it a little more build-up with a cloth over his head. Then there's the butterflies. You can see a little red glow at the base of the image. That's the room with the hole in the wall in the apartments. It had tons of butterflies on the walls and weird red glowing for no reason. Fun! Then James is dumping something in the chute, definitely the orange soda scene. There's a lot of apartment stuff so far. If the game is still heavily in development, it looks like they've basically finished or mostly finished the apartments and some of the hospital. So the first 2 major levels of the game. The last trailer showed some cutscenes from later parts of the game, so it's possible they've still got to build the in-game levels for them. Then we have the safe. You know, the one James had to grab a wallet out of a toilet for. Toilet hands confirmed! There's a body in a refrigerator, likely the scene before we meet Eddie, and this body looks way more human than the one in the original game, implying a real person was killed here, or at least a human-looking illusion. Wonder how that will play out with the conversation with Eddie. There's the jump between apartment levels, looks nice, lovely angle, followed by the clock puzzle. James is in the midst of solving it. You can see the door to the clock face is open. all of this is apartment stuff. Definitely feels like they are still building this game and trying to show fans their work as they go. It may be another year before we get the remake. But a slow game is better than a rushed one. And it's neat to feel like we're part of the creation experience. It really feels like Konami's listening for once. Then we see the outside of Woodside Apartments. Looks pretty great. Love the faded American flag touch. It looks like there might be a note on the side of the door. Then we have some back streets, beautiful and depressingly trashed, possibly a scene from the walk around in the beginning looking for the apartment keys. This scene with the staircase and the bulletin board is possibly the hospital entrance. One thing I think and hope will change is the lighting. A darker flashlight-lit environment that looks like this would be absolutely bone-chilling good. This looks really neat. It's a revamped coin puzzle, what seems to be a new variation of it. Is it a new difficulty? Have all the puzzles been rewritten? We don't know yet if the game is even using the original script in its entirety or if it's been retranslated or rewritten. I suppose we'll see. This riddle reads, 3 bright coins in the 5 holes be. First sits the maiden underneath the tree. The wind from behind the maiden doth blow. A beautiful flower alone has to grow. And here comes the man so sleek and so fine. In the pale moonlight his eyes doth shine. This feels like a variation on the normal version of the puzzle. It opens with the 3 bright coins line. It refers to the coins as man and woman. It has the wind from behind. This feels like an attempt to clean up and make the translation more poetic. Is there going to be more to the riddle? It only refers to 2 of the coins. I'm interested to see if this is a sign we're getting new level difficulties, if the puzzles are being rewritten, or what. But I'm generally happy to see they still exist, since I was worried the puzzle element might be considered particularly outdated by modern standards. It also looks like the riddle might have another element to it. There's a 6th hole on top of the tree. The image is similar to the Celtic Tree of Life imagery, though only one side of the tree is growing, and it's the side framed by the moon. The sun and moon motif is new and definitely tied into the coin's locations. I'll guess this is the normal puzzle difficulty, with the man coin going on the moon side, the woman at the base of the tree, the slot behind her is empty. Man, this makes me excited for new puzzles. Screw combat, give me new puzzles! This is also new and interesting. The doorknobs look like hands. When they turn, something falls out of the left hand, a ball shape. Reminds me of the ending of the game when you insert the 2 eggs into the doors to leave after fighting Pyramid Head. This probably is not that, but it has a similar vibe to me. The door opens to reveal part of what looks like a white dress, maybe a wedding dress? It's too quick to tell. There's the flashlight. Of course, this is the apartment where you find the flashlight on the dress and get attacked. So far, it looks like lots of little details and smaller scenes are being kept, which is promising to me. The mannequins also have some added detail. They look almost taped together or held together by bandages. The change in color here may mean that we inflict damage in real time during combat, which would be neat. Ah, the swimming pool. More signs the puzzles are there and in familiar format. That's the baby stroller that holds the snake coin. These guys look really melted now, which is neat. I kinda miss the slimy look of some of the monsters, but maybe that wouldn't match well with the new detailed graphics. The thigh highs! Pulling on original designs of Ito's monsters, the lying figures and nurses have thigh highs now. I love the strange surrealism of inhuman creatures wearing feminine clothing. It's a lovely touch. The damage on the screen, I get the idea. You gotta figure out how to show you're injured while keeping as many gamey elements as you can off screen. And Lord knows, having to pause to figure out your health can be annoying. This might be too much, depending on how it's implemented. I've played other games that darken the screen when you were damaged, as if your character's eyesight was fading out. I think that's less annoying or distracting than dirty textures. We've got some reaction stuff, similar to Downpour, where you have to fight off creatures who are right on you. That can be fun. It looks kinda silly here with the lying figure because he's just a torso lump. How is he grabbing James? Don't be cowards, game devs. Make the lying figure jump on him and wrap its nasty legs around his torso and poison jizz in his face. Now that I think about it, the dirty screen might be tying into the poison jizz, trying to reflect how the goop is messing with James's eyes. I think darkness is still better and less distracting, but it still restricts your sight. That staircase could be in the alleyways behind the apartments. There were a few stairs you could climb to get items, if I remember correctly. The nasty bathtub is interesting, and there's a monster in it. Hopefully it leaps up and tries to eat your face Resident Evil style. Doesn't look like this toilet's dirty enough to be the infamous one, though. Reap what you sow. I don't know, this seems to be the thing people on Twitter are the most mad about. I've heard it ruins the ending, which, no it does not. If I asked anyone who didn't know anything about Silent Hill 2 what that meant, they'd be like, I don't know, maybe they'd assume James was guilty of something? In no way does it imply the actual truth of the ending, and the original game hints at that truth right away anyway. The bathroom has Bible quotes that relate to it, the radio has Mary hinting at it, Neely's bar has a very subtle message. You aren't going to the same place as Mary, James. This isn't strange or out of place, and we have little context for when and where this is. Not to mention, Reap What You Sow is also a reference to Christianity. It ties into the themes of the other messages. Anyway, this is like nothing. The town has tons of gibberish graffiti, and inevitably we'll have to have more new stuff on the walls for a bigger town. I mean, Silent Hill 2 has a "to hell" sign in one apartment hallway. Silent Hill 1 in Alchemilla has a hell sign. Seriously, this series has always been goofy and campy. Just embrace it, and you'll have way more fun. Okay, this guy looks cool. New variation on monsters? Or they become more damaged over time, like in Shattered Memories? It'd be nice to see some details from previous games brought back, to see a blending of all the series' best experiments into one package. And Silent Hill Shattered Memories monsters transforming into more disturbing variations is one of my favorite things. This dude looks really cool. Also, it looks like James might have blood on him. I hope that, much like one of Downpour's best features, James can get messed up, torn up, and bloody, even weak and limping. Let me see him suffer. The flash of the gun is great here. More examples of actual light and shadow with the flashlight in the dark hallway. This is what I hope most of the game will look like. Looks like this damage scene has a bloody red circle as opposed to all that dirt. Seems the dirt screen is probably related to the lying figure's poisonous spew. You see the dirt come back a moment later when the lying figure spits on him. If the dirt is only during spitting, good, it won't be so annoying. A simplified red screen to tell you you've been damaged is far less distracting and more useful. And James looks messed up here. He looks like he got death stranded. I adore this. Look at all the little details, the drips, the wear and tear. They have made this town look ancient. That looks like a glimpse of Eddie for a second, followed by James with the knife, almost certainly right after meeting Angela. What a beautiful, simple way to hint at the existence of two of our most important characters. James, honey, you look great here. I am loving your new skin and hair routine. You definitely look more like you. Not to mention the lighting and shadow here, just damn. Shopping cart with gun! More apartment stuff. They've definitely filled out that region for sure. The nurses. This display of another enemy of the game is what gives me the most hope for the combat. This looks so cool. And thus far, showing us a lot of the mannequins, the nurses, and lying figures, we're getting different vibes for each fight. Lying figures can poison and distort your screen, they can get on you, you have to throw them off. Whereas nurses seem to move faster, they can climb obstacles, and when you shoot them, there's a fascinating, seemingly a unique effect where they shatter. It resembles an idea Ito Masahiro had in the OG game where he wanted to make the nurses' heads pop when you shoot them, they just couldn't do it. The idea that the remake could be a place to implement ideas from the original game's cutting room floor is so cool to me. And the nurses look like Silent Hill 2's nurses made far grosser. Look at that head movement, so jittery and inhumane. And the sexual element is there, but not in your face. They are not Homecoming's weird blow-up dolls. These are definitely modern variations of Silent Hill 2 with lovely new details, and all the heart and soul of the original. And monsters definitely seem to have variations that are either from you damaging them, or just differences in the environment, maybe normal versus other worlds similar to Silent Hill 3. What is this room? It's big and empty, with what looks like a pit to the side, maybe the stairwell we fight Pyramid Head in. More nurses, their shadows and movements are so good. This is what's selling me even more than the amazing visuals. This just looks freaky. I love it. I can't wait to hit them with a 2x4. Does this imply that monsters can open doors now? The fact that you could leave an area or a room to escape monsters was always a major weakness of the series. If the map is now all in one, or monsters are capable of following you in and out of rooms, that's a game changer. There's still a stomping mechanic, that's fun. The over-the-shoulder gun thing is pretty good to me. It's closer to the Fatal Frame camera. Fighting monsters feels so much tenser when you have to look at them. From far away, they're just not threatening. If people don't want this to be a Resident Evil clone, can it be a Fatal Frame clone? Let's have all the combat in first person. The first time I saw this, I was really confused as to what it was. Now I wonder if maybe that's the scaffolding in the prison with the noose? And that is Pyramid Head in the background, dragging a lying figure or possibly some monster? Ooh, is something gross gonna happen here? Good, give me all the gross and gory things. I'm super excited about this. I don't know, I just think it looks neat. Sure, it could be messy or flawed in the end. Bad art happens, but that's not the end of the world. Either way, I'll enjoy seeing an old friend like Silent Hill 2 in fresh paint. And if I'm disappointed afterwards, I'll go hang out with James back on my PS2. In the meanwhile, I choose to be hopeful since what we've seen, to me, paints a fascinating picture of beautiful graphics, attention to detail, adding lost cut pieces of Silent Hill 2 into the game, and a team that seems to be taking their time and taking fan feedback into account. I'd like the game to come out this year, but if they delay longer to make it better, good. Kudos to you, Silent Hill 2 Remake team. Until next time.